What's going on, guys? Today we are replacing the shocks on a C5 Corvette. We have aftermarket Bilstein shocks. So the right side of the car was a pain in the ass, but now we know what to do. I'm with my friend Trey. We're at his garage, and yeah, we'll show you how it's done. So the rear and the front have slightly different processes. So what we have to do for the rear is we have to unbolt the tie rod, and we're going to kind of move this out of the way so that when we unbolt, the shocks have 2 bolts up here, and then there's one of these on either side. So once we get all 4 of those off, and the tie rod is moved out of the way, all we have to do is compress it, and then we just slide it right out. So these are basically all the tools we're going to need to do it. It's actually a little more complicated than we thought, but that's all right. So first thing we're doing, the Trey's taking off the 2 13mm bolts up top. What is that, like a shock mount? Is that what that's called?
Yeah.
Shock brace?
Yeah, shock tower. Socket, elbow, a few extensions to get this back bolt back here. And these are directional. So when you take it off, make sure it's facing the correct way.
So we get the rear shock off, and this one's pretty complicated.
And the vice grips are just eating them.
There you go.
We cut the rubber out.
I could probably get some in there and hold it.
You can get a screwdriver or the multi-tool.
Woo! The aftermarket shocks did not come with new
Caps.
Right.
So you gotta retain the old ones for when you put them on. You're putting them on. Metal, rubber, metal, rubber. Never metal, metal touching. Always metal, rubber. So this is so it doesn't move. If I had it the right way. And this is just tightening it down. It doesn't have to be super tight. I generally just do it until the rubber is the same size as the metal piece on the bottom side, and on the top side it's roughly the same size. Not to the point where it's bulging over, but just so it's even, if that makes sense. As you're doing it, you'll know what I'm talking about. Gets there, I'm almost there. I'll show it to you guys. And that is a 17. I don't know what size of Allen that is, but as you see right there, it's not really a lip. It's even on both sides, kind of even. That's what you want to get it to. You don't want it squishing out. And then again, these are directional, so you want to make sure before you put them in that they're facing the right way, because it is a pain to try and redo it.
So we're gonna jack it up now to relieve some of the pressure, so you can squeeze the new shock up in there. You tell me when?
Yep. Keep going. As you're doing it, make sure you have pretty much everything like hand tight. That way you still have room to move stuff around if need be. Because if it's too tight, you won't be able to do what you need to do, or it won't line up correctly. And that's also, if you do it hand tight, it should tell you if you're doing it the right way. Because when you're putting everything back on, you should be able to do it hand tight at first. But if you can't, that means something's not lined up. Like right here, it's not really lined up on the back side.
So everything's back in. What should we tell them about the process?
It is a bitch.
It is a bitch. So the tie rod, getting that back in, so you gotta put an Allen key in the center here. And this is actually connected to that is actually on the tie rod. And this is just your bolt that you screw onto the tie rod, basically, on this mount. So you have to have two things going on once there. Yeah, what we did was we jacked it up. It's actually still jacked up a little bit. We jacked it up just probably a couple inches so we could get this on easily. That's about it. You want to talk about the process for the front?
So for the front, after trial and error and a few hours, the best and fastest way to do it is disconnect your upper control arm, this right here. It's going to be a 15 if it's factory. Aftermarket, it might be something different, but these are 15-inch bolt, 15 millimeter bolts right here. And you're also going to want to disconnect this sensor right here and just get it out of the way. Make sure it's not by any moving portions, like anything that can bind up with it. It's 2 points where you disconnect it. And let me get the second point so you can see. So the 2 points where you disconnect it, one is right here, and then the other is right where it connects to. You disconnect it, just get it out of the way. That way you don't have to worry about it binding up. Me personally, I like to put it over by the brake. It's out of the way, and the brake lines from the manufacturer, they're not gonna bind. They make it so it doesn't bind. So if it's anywhere near the brake line, like it is right here, it's not gonna bind, it's not gonna get pinched at all. But you're gonna take off these 4 bolts, and the whole front assembly is going to lean forward, and that's fine. And then you're going to take off this top bolt. You're going to pop the hood, but we're getting too far ahead of ourselves. With taking these off, they are, some people call them washers, some call them body spacers, whatever you want to call them. I'm about to take some off right here, shims. I think that's the proper word for them. They're behind the bolts. And you want to make sure you keep all your shims together. So whatever shim came off this bolt, I have to keep it with this bolt. So that way the car's geometry and everything is still in line. Because if not, the body of your car will be out of whack. And this is the shim. You want to make sure it stays with whatever washer it came off of. So don't do it all at once. Do it one at a time. And make sure you keep them separated. You know which one. Make sure you have a process. So these 2 bolts right here, this one and this one, those are 13s, and it's a nut on the underside of them. So have fun.
So for the front, we're taking off this windshield wiper fluid reservoir.
Make sure you keep track of all your bolts, whatever you take off, because you don't want to be that person to buy a car, lose a bolt, and then be like, oh, yeah. Well, that's a whole lot easier than the other side.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Just sits right up there.
Yeah, you can just sit it right up there. If you want, disconnect this sensor if it's coming off with ease for you. Just the sensor. And your bottom sensor came off. But what you just saw was a fail on my part. This sensor came out. You literally just push inside of there, and that's it. But if you take it out, you unplug your sensors. Essentially, you just unplug them, get them out of your way. It's 2, 1, 2. It gives you access to this right here, so you don't have to beat up your hands trying to get to it. And we're gonna do vice grips, and I think that's the 17, and then this will be ready to just drop out. Go ahead.
So what you want to do is line up the bottom. The bottom piece actually pivots. That's connected to the shock, so you want to get it straightened out with the screws first, and then you can literally just push this forward to get it up there. Yeah, still control arm back on. Gotta reconnect the sensor.